Good morning, everyone. In the last session, we started the HashMap related implementation here. So, what are the changes we discussed here? Now, we created the map here, and the key we created as a string and integer, like integer map. So, new HashMap we created the default one. Now, using this integer map dot put, we use the key one and the value we given as a 10 here. Okay, and the second one integer map dot put to key 2 and the value we given as a 20. Okay, so yesterday we discussed these two here, but how exactly it is creating it? Now, if we observe carefully, first we are trying to creating a node array. Okay, first we are trying to creating node array with help of the what is the capacity? The capacity we are trying to creating 16. Okay, and what is the threshold we are having? The threshold we identified 12. So once we reach to this particular 12, now it is going to create a big hash map here, or we can call it as a node concept here. Internally, hash map is using the node array, so it is going to create a little bit bigger node array compared to whatever we created so far. And how exactly it is trying to inserting the data. To insert the data, first what is doing it? First we are checking this key one related record is already inserted or not is checking. Okay, how it is checking basically? First it is trying to load the record based on the hash code. Getting the point? What is the code we observe in the last session? So this is the code. Now if we observe here, we are having I is equals to n minus 1. Getting the point? N minus 1 at the rate, sorry, n minus 1 and hash here. Okay, so this is the code we observe here. Now what exactly it is doing this particular section of code? Now based on this particular hash code, now we are trying to find out the index number, because based on the index number only we are going to store the current record into this particular node array. Okay, now what you are observing here, based on this hash code, now what we are doing here, first we are loading a record. If the record is already available or not, checking. If the record is already available, what we will do basically, we'll try to update the value. Okay, but in the two cases, the key 1 and key 2, what happened basically, we could not get this particular value every time. So this particular tab, whatever we provided, so this I something like n minus 1 and hash, so it is trying to return as a null. Now because of this, we are calling the new concept called new node. We are having new node method. What exactly the new node is doing is, so here we are trying to pass the hash code and key we are passing and value we are passing and next node. Okay, so these are with the 4 values we are trying to create a new node, and so after creating the new node, we are trying to assigning into this I index location. Okay, so this is what we discuss here. Now observe, now what we are going to do today. So I'm going to keep this record as it is. Okay, record means now I'm trying to creating a okay, key 1 I'm trying to use, but the value I'm trying to update with 10 here. So now I'm putting a breakpoint here. Now we'll try to start in the debug mode. Okay, so far if you see size 2 we are getting key 1 and key 2. Okay, now key is same here. If we observe carefully, the key 1, the key, whatever the key we are having, that is I'm trying to provide as the same, but only the value I updated here. The value I updated here. Now we need to identify how it is going to be work in these cases here. Okay, so now I'm coming back to it. Now I'm calling the put method. So now, as we already know, first we are going to generate the hash code of this particular key. Now later we'll go for this particular put value method. So let's observe the hash code, how it is generating here. Okay, hash code is generated. Now I'm coming back to the put value. Now if you see this, what is the hash code we are having? This is the hash code. So 3288,448. Okay, 3288 and 448. So now we are going to use this is an hash code. Now using this key is a key 1 and value we are having 100, and the last section only if option some 2 boolean flags we are having. So that we will see how we are going to use now. Okay, how we are going to use. So those information we'll observe. But now here what you need to understand here this is the section is important here. So when this condition is going to satisfy, initially when the first record we are trying to inserting, at the time of inserting the first record, this condition will satisfy. So now this is not the first record. We already inserted 2 records, so it is not going to be satisfy this. So we need to go back to the one more if condition or else condition. Yeah. So we'll see where exactly it is completed. So this is the if condition and this is the internal the method is going to call. So this will not satisfy. Now we need to go to the second condition. So we carefully observe. So this is only I discussed so far here. Now if you observe carefully, n minus 1 and hash. Okay, n minus 1 and hash I'm trying to providing here. So based on this particular n minus 1 and hash here, what exactly it is going to happen? Okay, so what exactly it is going to happen? First, if we observe carefully, we are trying to find out the proper high value. So now here you can see what is the high value we are getting? 0. Okay, what is the value we are getting? 0. So now this value it is going to initialize into this particular index location. Now if you see this in the 0 index location, we have already key 1 and key 2. Okay, key 1 and key 2 here. But what we need to understand here, we need to understand under this particular table here. So table also if you see key 1 and key 2 we are getting. But here we are not getting this particular node related information. Here if you see this hash map and node we are getting. But what we are expecting whenever we are having a node, so mainly the node can contain the 0 position and 1 position with a value. Okay, with the value we are going to have. But currently these positions are not showing it, but only the key and value pair it is showing it, because this is implemented based on the toString. Okay, so that we can discuss now. But observe carefully in the 0 index location already we are having a record. Now if you see this, so this condition it is not satisfied. So why it is not satisfied? Because based on the hash code, we already found one record in the node array. Okay, so whenever we found a record, we are not going to be recreated the record. Just we'll try to update the record. Now if you see this, what is the record we are having? Now if you understand this particular P, so you will get to know this is the key and this is the value. But how we load this record? Based on the hash code and n minus 1. What is the n? Size is a 16. Okay, so based on the 16, now we did the minus 1, now it will become 15, and using the single AND operator, now we are going to identify the proper index location here. Okay, so now what we need to understand here, once we load this particular record, now how we are going to update the value. So that is an important. Okay, so now if you see this, Here we are having p dot hash equals to hash. So what is the current hash here? What is the current hash we are getting? Now how we can identify here? So here we are having the current hash code here. Here if you see this, this is the current hash code we are having. Now using this particular current hash code, now I'm trying to check the existing hash code. But how we are loading the existing hash code? But here if you see this, this is a condition I'm checking. Now if this particular I value, if this particular I value is returning something, and based on the I value I'm trying to load in the record. So the record I'm trying to load in the node array, and I'm trying to assigning into this particular p variable. Okay, so now once we assign, here we are checking the whether the record is null, then only we'll go for this particular new node concept here. But as of now, based on the zero index location, we loaded the one record. The record is having some information, so because of this it is not returning null. So because of that only the line number 625 condition, it is not satisfied. Okay, so we come back to the else section, and here we are having p dot hash, so equals to hash. So if you see this, so this condition is satisfying here. Okay, now what is the p dot hash? 32888848. Now current hash also same, because the key we given same only. Getting the point? The key we given same here. So now what you need to understand, this condition is satisfied. The next condition, if you see this, this is the entire block. Okay, this is the entire block we need to understand. Now key is equals to p dot key. Okay, so p dot key. What is the p dot key we are loading? Now if you see this, key 1. Okay, p dot key, now it is trying to return as a key 1. Now the key 1 we are trying to initialize into this particular k. So we are checking with this particular key. So what is this particular key? This key it is coming from here. Okay, so this key coming from here, and p dot key we are initializing into this particular k variable, and later we are checking the both keys are same. Here if you observe carefully, we are doing the two operation. First what is an operation we are doing is, now p dot key we are trying to initializing into this particular k variable. So after this, now k equals to key. K equals to key. So these are the two operations we are doing. Here, if you see this, both are going to be satisfied. When this condition is satisfied, now we don't need to check this particular section of code. No need to check this particular section of code here. Okay, now we observe. So this condition is also now satisfied. This condition is also now satisfied here. Now what we need to do? It's coming back to the internal block here. So what we are doing here? Now carefully observe, whatever the P record we loaded, now I'm trying to assigning into this particular E. Okay, now I'm trying to assigning into this particular E. So once we assign into E, this particular E, what is the next step we are doing? Getting the point? What is the next step we are doing here? So this is very important, we need to understand here. Now you can see we initialize here. Where we initialize here? Here we initialize here. So E is equals to P. So far we observe whatever the E value we got, now we initialize into this particular, variable called E variable. So E is holding the node key and value concept here. So after this condition is satisfied. Now we are not going to check this particular else if as well as else condition. Okay, so now we come out of this. So these two conditions are ignored because of the if conditions here. So that is we observe. Now coming back to here, now what we are checking? If this particular E not equals to null. If this particular E not equals to null. So just now we loaded the record. So we'll get as a not equals to null only. Okay. So after this, what I'm doing here? E dot value. So what is the E basically? So just now we loaded the P value, like P record into this particular E. Now using this, now we are trying to load the value. So what is the value we are having? Now the value, if you see this, it is trying to return as a 10 here, because so previously we inserted as a 10 record. Okay, now I am trying to load into the old value variable. After this, now what I am doing here, if you see, whatever the flag we used here, the flag we are checking only if absent. So what is the value we provided basically? Only if absent, basically false we provided. In our case, so that is become true, because here we are, what is the condition we are using? Not condition we are using. So because of this, now the condition is satisfying here. No need to check this condition. Okay, no need to check this particular condition. So why we cannot check it? Because we are using the OR operator. Any one of the condition is satisfied, so no need to check another conditions here. So now we observe this is satisfied. So whenever it is satisfied, now we are going back to here. Now if you see this, what is the value we are having? Currently, the value we provided as a 100. Okay, the value we provided as a 100. Now we are trying to set into E dot value. So if we observe carefully, here we are loading the E dot value and initializing into this particular one more variable called old value. Now using this particular 651, now we are trying to replacing only value. But if you see, the key as it is going to be happen, but only the value is now changing. Only the value is now changing. Now here you can see after node access. So now we replace the value to 100. Okay, so after this, what we are doing is we are trying to return the old value. Now if you can see, whenever we are calling this particular put method, now what we are going to understand here, we are going to get the value. In our case, we are getting an old value. In our case, we are getting the old value. Now you can see size is 2 only. Size is 2 only. Here if you see, we are having put method 3, but the size still we are having 2. But only the difference here, earlier it was 10, now it is replaced with 30. Sorry, now it is replaced with 100 here. Getting the point. So this is only the main important concept we need to understand. Whenever we are trying to providing key as a same, the value it is going to be modified here. Now what happens if I'm going to give as a 10? Okay, nothing will happen, because this record and this record both are matching here. Even though this value it is going to be replaced here, so like even if the value is going to be replaced, so there is no use, because the value is same here. Now, so this is we need to understand, when the key we given as a same, so just it is going to update the value here. Okay, so this is what we need to understand here. Now after this, now what are the additional method we need to discuss here? Okay, so what is the additional method? Now what I will do, I will go to the map. Okay, first we'll discuss about the size here. So what exactly the size will do now? Integer map dot size here. I'm calling the size here. Now let me run this example with the debug mode, so that we'll observe the how this particular size is going to be implemented here. Now I'm calling the size method. Now what is the returning here? Size is a variable. Okay, size is a variable. How we are going to update this particular size variable values here? Now that is I will show you. Now put method. Okay, so this is a hash map. Now if you see this, if you come down here, we are increasing the size here. Line number 657, we are increasing the size here. How we are increasing? Using this particular pre-increment operator. Okay, so this is a variable. If you want to understand, now the variable it's defined at the class level. So transient into size here. Okay, so every record, whenever the record is inserted successfully, the size value we are going to increase automatically. Now whenever we are calling this particular size here, so this is whenever we are calling this particular size here, what happening internally, we are trying to return the size variable, what exactly the value we are having. Currently we are having 2. Okay, so this is the size is going to be returned. Now if you see this size method, now it is trying to return the integer value. It is trying to return as a integer value. Okay, so this is we observe. Now one more method. So size method we discuss here is empty. So what exactly the is empty method is doing here? Now carefully observe integer map dot is empty. Okay, so is empty without debug also we can observe this method how it is implemented here. Now go to the hash map. Now if you see this size equals to 0. Okay, we are not initializing it, just we are doing the comparison. What is the comparison? So size value, if the size value is 0 and equals to 0, then only this expression will become true. Otherwise, currently, what is the size we are having? 2. So 2 equals to 0. So this become false here. This become false. When this particular is empty will return true when we don't have a record into this particular hash map. Okay, but currently how many we are having here? So 2 record we inserted. The size variable, now it will try to return as a 2. So 2, it cannot satisfy with this particular 0. It is not equals to this particular 0. So we'll get as a false here. So whenever we are having 0 equals to 0, then it will try to satisfy the condition. So that is become true. Okay, so this is all about the important section about the is empty method. Now go back to here map here. We discuss the size and is empty. Now we need to discuss about the contains key. Now what is expecting this contains key method? Contains key method, now it is expecting object as a parameter. Now we need to provide the key here. So whenever we providing this, now what happens internally? The given key is available in the map or not. Okay, so whatever the key we are going to provide, the given key is available or not into this particular hash map. So how it is going to be checked internally. Okay, now here I'm trying to checking here. Now I'm going to provide the key 2. So I want to check whether this particular key 2 is available or not here. Let me debug this so that we can understand here how this method is implemented internally. So contains key, the name itself is checking, like it's providing the information, whatever the parameter we are providing, the key parameter. So the key parameter is existed into this particular hash map not, it is going to be written. If it is existed, it will return true. If it is not existed, we'll get as a false here. Okay, now, so go to this particular method. Now what we are doing here, first we are trying to load the get node call. Okay, we are trying to call this particular get node, and internally one parameter we are calling hash. Now what you are understanding basically, whenever you are doing any operation under the hash map like inserting or loading, what we are doing it based on the key, first we are going to generate the hash code. First we are going to generate the hash code. So based on the hash code, now we'll try to find out the proper index location. The proper index location. If the index location is observed, now we'll load the proper key value information here. Okay, but now if you observe carefully, what we need to understand, now we need to know about the hash code. So this is the hash code, the same method is going to be called. Now finally, hash code is generated. Now this is the hash code of this particular given key. And what is the original key we are passing? Key 2 we are passing. Now what we are doing basically, now if you observe carefully here, the current table is something like whenever we want to insert the record is going to insert it into this particular table. So table is a reference variable which is going to hold the node array. Okay, now if I want to show you, here you can see node array which is expecting key comma value. So node array means we are going to store multiple node objects here. Multiple node objects here. Okay. So the reference variable I am trying to initializing into this particular tab. Now if you see this tab is here. So this is also same node array. Node array we are having. Now we initialize and we are checking not equals to null. And here tab dot length. So if this particular length we are assigning into 0 and it should be greater than 0. And it should be greater than 0. And here what we are checking here, n minus 1 and hash, n minus 1 and hash. So what we are going to get basically the proper index location. Okay, proper index location we are going to get here. So whenever we are getting this particular proper index location, now we'll try to check the record is available or not. Okay, the record is available or not. Now if the record is available, so directly this condition is going to be satisfied. Now you can see in our case the record is satisfied. Now if you go to this particular, first the key we are loading and value also we are loading. Okay, key and value we loaded. But how we loaded? With help of this particular hash code only. With help of this particular hash code only, we loaded the record. Now, so once we load here, now what we are doing it? First dot hash and hash code. Again, we are checking the hash code. Now, after this, we are going to check the key. So now in our case, it is going to be satisfied. Hash code will satisfy and key also will satisfy. Now we are trying to return the first. So what is the first basically? First, it is a node here. A node can contain the key and value here. So now if you see this, the first node, it is trying to return with these two values, key and value. Now after returning, what we are doing here? Now if you see this, get to node not equals to null. Get to node not equals to null. The get node method currently it is trying to return the information call the key to as well as value call 20. So whenever it is trying to return this, what we need to understand here, it is not equals to null condition here. So whenever it is trying to return the not equals to null condition, it is become true. It is become true. So this is we need to understand here. Now, so what we need to understand here, get node, in place of get node, we are going to have one node object. Now what I am doing here, node not equals to null here. Node not equals to null we are having. So this is what we need to understand here. Getting the point? This is what we need to understand here. How this particular node. So node basically here we are getting the value called key to, and what is the value we are getting? Something like 20. So we are having an object. So object is definitely it is not equals to null. Now whenever it is not equals to null, it is become true here. Okay, it is become true. Now in the current case, whatever the key we provided, the key is existed here. The key existed here. Now what I will do, simply here I will print this particular key 2. Okay, simply I will print this particular key 2. Now you can see I am going to run here. The last statement will get as a true. Okay, so we are getting as a true because whatever the key we provided, the key is existed under this particular hash map here. Now if you observe, I am giving key 22. Now I am giving key 22. So I am going to run the same example. Now if you see, we are getting false. So why we are getting false here? Whatever the key 22, so far we did not insert it. So the key 22 related key, it is not available under this particular hash map. Now we need to debug this. How this key 22 is related, the behavior is implemented internally. Okay, now I'm calling the contains method. We'll go for the hash code. So now we'll come out of the hash code. Now we'll go for the get node method. Now you can see. So what is the hash code we are having here? This is the hash code. Okay, so this is the hash code of this particular key here. Now once we generated this particular hash code, what we are doing here? What we are doing here? So we are going to check this. Okay, but here these two conditions will satisfy, but this condition will not satisfy. Why will not satisfy? Because with this particular tab and hash code, we don't have a data. Okay, we don't have a data. So this is what we need to understand here. Now we are going out here. Simply what we are doing here, we are trying to return null here. Getting the point? So carefully observe here what we are checking is this entire condition should satisfied. But in our case, what is not satisfied here? The first basically it is a null here, because based on this particular n minus 1 and hash, what happening internally, we are not going to be load the record under this particular tab here. Getting the point? We are not going to load the record under this particular tab. So if you want to understand here, I will generate this one. So same code I'm trying to write here. Now here you can see what is the length we are having, 16. 16 minus 1, and here we are going to have hash code. Okay. So now if you see this, what is returning basically? The result we are getting as a null here. The result we are getting as a null. Okay, whenever the result we are getting as a null value we are checking initializing into this particular first variable, and but condition we are checking not equals to null. Okay, not equals to null we are checking. So because of this, now the line number 565, it is not satisfied here. Why it is not satisfied? Because with this particular hash code, we did not inserted any record under this particular hash map here. Because of this, now we are getting a null value. We are trying to return the null. Now simply we are going to check here. This entire code we are going to get as a null. Null not equals to null. Null not equals to null. So definitely it will become false here. Okay. So that is only we are getting here. So this is what we need to understand. Whenever we are giving the proper key, like existing key, we are going to load the object. Now if the object is loaded successfully, we return the object. Otherwise, we are trying to return the null. So based on the object and null, the contains key method is trying to return true or false here. Okay. So any questions regarding the size method, empty method, and contains key method? Okay. So if we don't have anything, now we'll go to the map here. This method we discussed now. We need to discuss about the contains value. Here we are passing the key. Now here we are going to pass the value. Now we'll see how this value related example it is going to be implemented. Sorry. Integer map dot contains value. Now here I'm going to give, okay. So here we provided the integer. So that first I'm going to give 200. So as of now, we did not insert this 200 related concepts. So far we are having only 20 and 100. Now we'll see how this particular 200 it is going to be returned. So again, this is also same. It will try to return the value here. Okay. Now we are trying to check this particular value. We'll go for the internal checking here. Now if you see this, we are converting the value. After this, again we are going to check this contains value. Now what is the value we are providing? 200. Okay. So now if you see this, what we are checking. So already we have discussed a table. Table currently contains all the HashMap related data. Now size we are checking. The size should be greater than 0. Currently we are having 2 records. So this condition is going to be satisfied. Now we are coming to the next line. And if you see this, here we are using the for each. Okay. Here we are trying to use this particular for each concept here. Now what we need to understand here, node E and tab. Okay. So how many records we are having? So that we are checking. And after this E. So this is the E we are checking. If the E not equals to null, and we are trying to load this particular next value. So if we observe, so this is similar to this. This is a for loop. Normally we used to use into I is equals to 0 and I less than or equals to something like 10. and I plus plus. So whatever the condition we are using, now if you see this block, we call it as a initialization. Okay, this we'll call it as a initialization, and this is we'll call it as a condition, and this will call it as a iteration here. This will call it as a iteration. Now if you see this I less than or equals to 10. Now what is the condition we are making here? E not equals to null here. So this is the same condition. Now here in place of iteration, E is equals to E dot next. I'm trying to load the next record. But when this particular next record will return null, whenever we are trying to load the second. For the second, we don't have a for this particular second, we don't have the next record. For the first record, we'll have a next record, but for the second record, we are unable to find the next record here. So this is what we need to understand here. So only it will satisfy the two conditions here. Now if you see this, first one here, if you see this, now the first record is satisfied. Now we are checking what is the value we given, 200. Now currently what is the value we are getting from the hash map? Something like 100. So 100, it is not equals to this particular 200. Now what is the second one? Now what is the second condition? Here we are checking if either this should satisfy or this should satisfy. So in the both cases, it is not going to be satisfied. So second record. Okay, second record. Now if you see this, so second record is also written here. Now we are coming out of this. Getting the point? Now, so how many we are having? It is going to be repeated until 16 times here. Until 16 times here. Now finally, it is not satisfied. Simply it is trying to return the false here. Now if you see this, we are going to get the value called false. The last false statement. Now what do you observe so far basically? What do you observe? For the key, we are trying to load the record. For the value, now we are keep on for the value, we are keep on checking this particular value is satisfying or not. If the value is not satisfied here, simply we are trying to return false here. Okay. So this is what we need to understand here. For the key, we have implemented different logic. For the value, we have implemented different logic here. Getting the point? Now what exactly we are doing for this particular value? Whatever the value we provided, based on the each record, we are comparing here. So this record is satisfied with the current value or not. Okay, if it is satisfied, it will return true. Otherwise, it will try to return the false. Now if you see, in place of 200, now I'm going to give 100. Now I'm going to give 100. Now, same example I'm going to run one more time. Carefully observe how it is trying to return true here. Now if you see this, we load the table and size here. Now after this, we are trying to check this particular tab. Tab is nothing but first record we are loading, and we are checking E dot next here. Okay, so coming back to here, what is the value? E dot value, now if you see this, we are going to get as a 100, and the given value also 100. Now it will satisfy. Simply it is trying to return as a true. Simply it is trying to return as a true. So this is the return true value we are going to get here. Okay, now what you are understanding? So with the help of this particular value, we have one record is existed under this particular hash map here. Okay, so simply we can say contains key. Whether the key is available or not, we can check with the help of this particular contains key. Same way, we can check the given value, it is available or not. Okay, so these are the four methods. Now if you see, so what we are doing here, get method. What exactly the get method will do here? What exactly the get method? Now if you observe carefully, it is expecting one parameter, so something like a key, and it is trying to return the value. Okay, it is trying to return the value. What you need to understand basically, here we need to provide the parameter, and we are going to get the value. So now if you see this, integer map dot get I'm providing. Now simply key 22 I'm going to give. Okay, key 22 I'm going to give. So this is we can treat as a something like a key value. Okay, so now we are expecting to get this particular value here. So what is the value we are going to get? Integer, because in place of this particular v, we provided the integer data type here. Now observe here how this particular get method it is going to be implemented internally. Okay, so I'm going for the internal. Now this is a key we are passing, key 22. Now here if you see this, what we are checking here. So here we are doing this ternary operator here. Okay, we are doing the ternary operator. So what we need to understand here? What we need to understand basically here we need to understand first we are going to call the hash code to find out the hash code of the given key, and later we are going to check get node method. So just now we discussed the contains key related method. So same hash code it is going to be written. Now if you see this, we are trying to check this entire block. Okay, if the entire block is not satisfied, simply we are going to get a return null. So just now we discussed about the get node concept. Now after this, what I'm doing here, if it is returning null, simply we will return null. Otherwise, e dot value. It is going to be returned. So carefully observe. Whenever we are giving the proper key, we'll get a get node object. Okay, get node object, it is not going to be satisfied with this particular null. So definitely it will go to this particular block. But whenever we are providing wrong key, whenever we are providing the key, it does not exist into this particular hash map. Now this entire block will return as a null here. Whenever it is trying to return as a null, so what is the value we are trying to return? Something like null only. Okay, so just now we discussed about this get node, how it is implemented internally. Now if you want to understand, this is the get node method. Now you can see we are initializing, like we are trying to declare this particular node array tab, and the first record we are declaring, and along with that we are declaring e variable and int n. Okay, and key value we are declaring. So these are about the declaration concept, and here we are trying to check the condition. So these two conditions will satisfy normally, but this condition is not going to be satisfied. So why this condition is not going to satisfy? Because of this particular hash code, we don't have a data under the specified index location. Okay, so this is what we need to understand. So this is what we need to understand here. Now in our case, it will try to return as a null. The value also we are going to return as a null here. Now if you see this, okay, I did not print this. Let me print this particular integer. Okay, integer we are getting as a null. So here we can observe null we are getting. Why we are getting null? This given key, it is not existed. So for example, if I am going to provide key to, what we will do? First we'll generate the hash code. Now we'll go to the get node method. Now we'll try to find out the record. Now based on the index location, the record will provide it. So once the record we provided, it will try to return the value here. Okay. Now you can see. So this is also the simple example here. Now you can see what is the value we are getting? 20. The value we are getting as a 20. How we are getting the value as a 20? Because here if you see get node, it is going to be returned some value. When the get node it is trying to return some value, now it is not equals to null. Finally we are trying to return e dot value. Okay, so whenever we are calling the e dot value, the node level value it is going to be returned, because in the node concept already we discussed. So this is the hash code, and this is the key, and this is the value, and this is for the next node. This information we provided under the node class. So this is what we need to understand here. Okay, any questions regarding the get method? This is very important here for all the real-time applications also we are going to use this get more and more times. Okay, so these are the important methods. So for size method, empty method, contains key, contains value, get method. Still any questions? Okay, so if you don't have anything, so what we'll do, we'll go for the another method. So just now we discussed about the get method. Now if you see, this is the put method. So initially only we discussed about this particular put method is expecting the key as well as value. Is expecting the key and as well as value. So we discuss here how this particular key and value it is going to be implemented internally. Now after this remove method. Now if you see this particular remove method, what is expecting? Is expecting the key and it is trying to return the value. So what is the value we are going to get? The value we are going to get whatever the value we removed here basically. Whatever the value we removed basically. So this is what we need to understand regarding this particular remove method. Now go back to here, integer map dot remove, and what is expecting? Key is expecting. Now simply I will go to the key 22. So currently it is not existed. Currently it is not existed. Getting the point? Let me put a breakpoint here. I will try to execute this method. So remove method. Now if you observe carefully, for remove method also we are loading the hash code. For remove method also we are loading the hash code. So after the hash code, now what is the method we are calling? After the hash code, what is the method we are calling basically? So same method call remove method. Okay, what exactly this remove method will do internally? Now, so I'm going to check this particular hash code first. After this, we are going for the remove node. Now here you can see, so this is a hash code and this is the key we are having. So far we did not provided any value. Okay, so value we did not provide it. Based on the key, we are trying to remove the record. Now, so match false we are having, some model we are having something like a true. The movable we are having, true we are providing. So these are the different type of parameters we are having. Now carefully observe what we are doing. This is the again declaration concept. Okay. Now if you see this, we are loading tab and length we are loading. But again here if you see this, so again this is going to be fail. Again this is going to be fail. So why it is going to be fail? Because here if you see this, based on the index, okay, index value we are going to get n-1 and hash code. n-1 and hash code. So to understand this, now what we can provide here. So this is I'm trying to highlight here. Now in place of this particular index, now I don't want to use this index as of now. Okay. So what is the n we are having? Something like 16. 16 minus 1 and hash. So what is the value we are getting? Okay, maybe tab also it does not identify. Now you can see, now if you see this condition is satisfied, but this particular condition is not satisfied. So why it is not satisfied? Now again I'm trying to load the same record here. So if you observe carefully, now if you observe what is the index we are having? What is the index we are having? So index is not able to find here. Now here you can see, Now what is the record we are getting basically? Based on this particular n value and hash code, so something like we are getting as a null. Now why we are getting null? Now I want to find out the index location. How we can find out the index location? So to find out the index location, now how we can do? Something like 15 and hash code. 15 and hash code. So what is returning? 12. What is returning? 12. In the 12 index location, we don't have a data. Getting the point? In the 12 index location, we don't have a data. So this is what we need to understand. Only we have a data in the 0 index location as well as 1 index location. But in the 12 index location, so far we did not inserted any record here. Okay, so this is what we need to understand here. Now because of this tab will return null. Now what is the condition we are checking? Not null condition we are checking. So whenever we are checking the not null condition, now what happens is, so this entire block is not satisfied. We are coming out of this. Simply we are trying to return as a true here. Sorry, we are trying to return as a null. Now here remove node, if it is trying to return this particular whole section as a null, what we are trying to return? This particular key. Okay, so if you see this, we are trying to return as a null and e value. So this is basically a ternary operator. The ternary operator, this entire expression will become true. Okay, this is after the question mark, whatever we are having, the value will return. Now when this particular expression will become false here, so after the colon, after the colon, so it will try to return the whatever the value we are going to have. Now if you see here, we are having the colon this. So this will return only when we are going to get as a false. But currently we are getting as a true. But after the question mark, whatever we are having, so that is going to be written. But here if you see after the question mark, so this is the question mark we are having here. Okay, this is the question mark. Now after the question mark, we are having null. The null it is going to be written. This is what we need to understand. This example we already discussed in the multiple times in the previous example here. So this is also very important. We need to understand here. Okay, so this is also very important section we need to understand regarding this particular remove node. So what exactly it is doing this remove node? First we are loading the hash code. Based on the hash code, we are trying to find out the proper index location. And if the index location is not identified here, what happens internally? If the index location is not identified properly, what exactly it will do? It will try to return as a null. Okay, so otherwise, if the record is loaded, it will try to remove this. Now, in place of this particular key 22, now I'm going to give key 2. So with this particular key 2, we already having a records here. Okay, we already having a records. Now we need to identify how this concept is going to be implemented one more time. Now you can see hash code and remove node. Now you can see remove node. Now whenever we are giving the proper key, which is already available under this particular hash map, then this entire block is going to be satisfied. Now if you see this entire block is satisfied, then only now we enter into this particular section of code called 812, and here we are having tab index is equals to n minus 1 here. Something we got it here. Now again we are trying to declare here. Again we are trying to declare. Now if you see this, what we are checking? P dot hash code and whatever the current hash code we are having, and P dot key and the given key, all are satisfied here. So when it is satisfied, now what we are returning? Node. Okay, the P record whatever we loaded, now assigning into this particular node. Now once I assign here, now if you see this node, I'm checking node not equals to null and match value. So I provided as a false. Now it is satisfying here. Now whenever it is satisfying here, now it will enter into this particular section of code. Node instance of tree node, it is false. Okay, now node equals to P, so it will become satisfied. Now what we are doing it? Node not next. Okay, node dot next, whatever we are going to have at next information, so that is we are trying to store in the index location. What is the current index location? 1. Okay, now if you see this in the tab, already we are having so 1 0 and 1 index location, but this 1 index location now it is going to replace with node dot next. Currently, node dot next, what is the value we are getting? 0. So because whatever the record we are trying to delete, that is the last record. Whatever the record we want to delete, that is a last record. Now if you see this node dot next, we are returning as a null. So finally what you understand is, in the first index location, we are going to return as a, we are going to initialize as a null value. Okay, now if you see, only one record we are going to have under the tab, only key 1. Earlier we observed the key 2 also. So that is now replaced with the null value. Okay, so this is we need to understand else if satisfied. So else condition is not going to satisfy. Now we are increasing the mod count, but we are trying to decreasing the size. We are trying to decreasing this particular size. So this is what we need to understand here. And after this, what we are doing here, something right, we are trying to return the node here. So what is the node contain now? The node contain what is the records we deleted from this particular hash map. If you see this node, it is trying to return as a key 2 and a value, the second record. But if you see under this particular tab, this record is not going to have, because we removed here. So how we are removing? Here, this particular section of code. This particular section of code we are going to remove here. So something like we are replacing with some other value. In the proper index location, we are replacing with some other value. So that is going to be remove the original value here. Okay, so this is what we need to understand here. Now after this, we are returning the node. Now what we are doing is, so if you see this removed node, if this particular equals to null, in our case it is not equals to null. In our case, it is not equals to null. So simply we are trying to return this particular e dot value. Now what is the value we are going to get basically here? Something like a 20. Okay, so this is the value. It is returned by this particular remove method. Now if you see this remove method, internally it is trying to return the whatever the value we are going to remove under the hash map here. So if you want to load this particular value, you can use key 21. Now here you can see 20 we are getting. This is the 20. Now it is removed. Okay, here using the get method, we load the same record, and using this particular remove method, the same record now we removed here. Same record now we removed. So this is what we need to understand here. Okay, so any questions regarding this particular remove method? Okay, so if you don't have anything, so far up to this we discuss it. In the tomorrow session, we'll discuss about the put-all and the remaining continuation methods, how these methods are implemented internally. Okay, so try to practice it so far whatever we discuss here. Now I'm going to upload this video into the whatever the playlist I given. Go through the playlist again and try to practice whatever we discuss here. Okay, so tomorrow we'll continue the remaining methods.